You're listening to an Anderson Entertainment production.
This episode,
we're headed for the big screen in FAB Facts.
A spaceship from the past is causing problems in the present in the Randomiser.
and John Tracy's here. Well, his voice anyway. It's Keith Alexander
That's all coming up in Pod 204.
of the Gerry Anderson Podcast.
Let's get started. Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
The Gerry Anderson Podcast with Jamie Anderson and Richard James.
Here we are again. I know.
Yes, when you say it like that,
Yeah.
Sort of-
here we are again.
feels like a fever dream or something, doesn't it?
It does a bit.
Keep waking
Going on a
up
while,
and we
though.
keep coming back
Yeah.
for more of the
Yeah.
Gerry Anderson Podcast with
Yes.
you, Richard James,
And you, Jamie Anderson.
and him in there. Can you
Oh,
believe? Can you?
what?
I don't know if you can hear him,
Is
but
that him?
he's cleaning up my
He's
kitchen
washing
today.
up, isn't he?
I know.
Yes. It's nice of him.
The very lovely
Gosh.
randomizer, Chris Dale, who
He's-
also turns
yeah.
out to be an amazing housekeeper. So thank you,
I
Chris.
mean, he's very thorough, isn't he? He's licking between the prongs of the fork there before
Yeah,
he
that-
puts it in the dishwasher.
That's
good.
the patented Chris Dale dishwasher
Yeah,
pre-wash
that's the method.
cycle.
That's right.
Anyway, I mean, if anyone's house is in need of keeping, it's certainly mine. So thank you, Chris.
Well, yeah.
When he's finished tidying up, he'll be here with his amazing randomizer, where he randomly listens and watches. In fact, he randomly watches a random episode of
Yes.
a random Gerry Anderson show as picked by the randomizer, and he gives us all sorts of amazing, fantastic, interesting, humorous, and insightful comments on
He does.
said episode.
Yes, that's true. He does.
Yeah. Now, along with all those things,
Ah.
I'm going to ask you to tell us what else is
Go
coming.
on.
However,
Yeah.
before I do that, last week I tasked you, Richard James, if you remember,
Yeah.
with finding a Gerry Anderson catchphase type of thing that we
yeah.
can use to indicate to the Podsterons that they should get in touch with us.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
because you came up with, where we are,
Yeah,
which
but
was
you didn't like,
very
did you?
throwaway, very casual.
Yeah, you did like
We
that,
needed
yeah.
something more Anderson-esque, so what have you come up with?
Right. Well, I've taken my time with Demeter City's Finest as my inspiration.
Have you?
From my time on board the police cruisers of Precinct 88. Our call sign, I think, was SPA.
It was.
Which I think was Space Police Affirmative, I think.
yeah.
But I thought, well, we could adapt that slightly for the podcast and we could use SPA as Send Podsteron Amusement.
Wow.
How's that? SPA.
Oh,
Yeah, you like
okay.
it?
I mean,
It's got oomph, it's got, drive, it's
Well-
an imperative, isn't it? It's a command. Send Podsteron Amusement.
okay, fine. Well,
Happy?
I'll accept that for now. So, Podsterons, you heard the man. SPA.
Ah, there you go. You see, it works. And they have been sending Podsteron amusement in their droves since we last met. Of course they have, to podcast@gerryanderson.com, and we'll be reading out a few of their emails a little later on. They've also been posting on our Facebook group, and I'll be reading out some posts there, and from our YouTube channel as well. We've got FAB Facts coming up any moment now, everybody's second favourite part of the podcast.
Rude.
We've got the second part of Ben Page's interview with Keith Alexander.
Ooh,
Yeah, really enjoyed
nice.
the first part last week. He's provided many voices for the worlds of Gerry Anderson, so you can look forward to the second part of that a little later on. And of course, even though we're at Pod 204, there's still some Gerry Anderson news, and that'll be coming up later too.
Always. Unavoidable
that's
like Gerry
everything.
Anderson news, I'd say.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Good. Well, I'm glad to know that the Podsterons have been SPAing all over the place, and
They-
look forward to
they
hearing
really
their
have.
little
Yes.
contributions later on.
Yes.
But since you've already mentioned it, would you like to instantly go into this week's Fab Facts?
Have I got a choice?
Well, yes, you do, actually. If you really said no, then we could skip over it.
I couldn't do that to you. Go on.
No, thank you. Then that means it's Fab Facts.
Now, time for this week's Fab Facts.
I mean, that was touch and go for a moment. I really
It
thought you
was.
were going to pull
I was building the
pull
tension,
the cord
yeah.
and
Absolutely. Wow.
oof.
Imagine if we did that one. Maybe going to the news before Fab Facts. Imagine. Oh, no, I don't know. Think about it.
No, it would feel like, I don't know, putting on your socks before your pants. Are you going to
Well,
tell me you do that, don't
I mean,
you?
I-
Of course you.
well,
of
I
course.
do, yeah.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, but
Doesn't
that just
everybody?
reminds me of that quote from Peep Show, isn't it? Where it said always pants before socks, never socks before pants. It makes you look like a chicken. Otherwise, you see? I think it's that. Someone will correct me.
Yeah, or the last turkey in the shop. Anyway,
Exactly
come on,
that.
let's carry on. Come on, quick, before we get into even more trouble.
Yes, sorry. Right, anyway, this is FAB Facts, where actually we don't normally talk about the order in which you put on your undergarments.
No, we really don't.
But instead, I've got a book of FAB Facts. There's me flicking through it.
Oh, yeah.
I flick through the book, and at a random point, Richard shouts a command to stop. That command is...
Fab!
That's it, which makes me stop flicking, and then I read you a fact, which hopefully is fab, from the page where I've stopped. Richard, are you ready with your fab?
Born ready.
And I'm born ready with the flicking, believe it or not. Here we
Nice.
go.
Fab!
Whoa. Did you hear the massive acceleration there at the end?
I did, yeah. That's why I got it quick.
You just stopped me before the end of the book, which is lucky.
Wow.
So, the Gerry Anderson shows are obviously ripe for adaptation by Hollywood, aren't they, Richard James? I mean, a big budget feature film of Space 1999 or UFO.
It's got to happen. It's got to happen.
Yeah, well, they've been discussed at length.
Yes, they have. That's true.
Over many, many years. And there was even the ill-fated, although loved by some, live-action Thunderbirds movie in 2004.
Yeah, true. Yeah, hang on.
Yes.
In what way was it ill-fated? I mean, it did all right, didn't it?
Not really, no. I don't,
did it not?
I don't think it made its budget back, did it?
Okay.
So that is ill-fated.
Go on.
But, it got lots of you, even some of you listening right now, you Podsterons, into the world of Gerry Anderson, so we can't be totally ungrateful and against it. But just mostly. Anyway, we've talked a lot about the various attempts to bring these shows to the cinema, but one we don't mention very often, and for good reason, is Joe 90.
Oh?
Yes, even that little Joe
puppet
was believed to have big screen potential.
Really?
Believe it or not, yes. In 2003, a pair of producers purchased the rights to make a Joe 90 movie. The company, Angry Films... understandably, I'd be angry if I bought the Joe 90 rights, was allegedly hiring screenwriters to make the movie to be released by Disney. And they were so confident of the success of this that they contacted film industry trade paper Variety to let them know that the project was underway. Now, unfortunately, as so often happens, it seems the project never went any further. And it seems that there was a Spy Kids craze at the time due to the success of that particular film series, but the trend was rapidly and probably justifiably coming to an end. That, combined with the lackluster box office performance of the 2004 Thunderbirds film, may have influenced Angry Films to put Joe 90 back on the shelf.
Oh,
Now, but
what a shame.
what do you think a Joe 90 movie would have been like? Would you have gone to the cinema to support it? More importantly, wouldn't you rather see a big budget version of The Secret Service?
Yes.
Yes,
I would.
Send your comments to podcast@gerryanderson.com and SPA, please.
Exactly. Send Podsteron amusement.
Yes,
that's right.
I'm not sure this is going to catch on, but we can try.
No, come on, let's keep plugging away. Don't give up that easily.
Okay, fine. Well, look, if it had been made in that Spy Kids era, I just have a feeling it would have been terrible. I mean, probably a Joe that would have been even more precocious than the 1968 version.
But I think, now you see, I wasn't in Spy Kids, but at about the same time, I had a very, very small role in a film called Stormbreaker, which was based on the Alex Rider novels by Anthony Horowitz.
Yes.
And they've now made a series of that, I think.
They have too, in fact.
Yeah, right. Very of its time. And I suspect if they had made I'm suspecting it would be a live-action Joe 90.
It was,
yeah. And I would say he'd be a teenager. I think that would be the way it would go, wouldn't it? Sort of 14, 15, 16-year-old.
Yeah.
And would they have taken the opportunity to iron out the kinks, the stuff that you don't like, about the ethics of being put through
I think the ethics side is fascinating.
Yeah.
But it's just not...
it's not very Disney, though, is it?
It's not. No, and it's not touched upon at all in the show. I mean, I think it's very easy for all these things to say. Oh, do you know what? I would really love a darker, grittier version of ...
Yeah,
it's an easy shortcut, isn't it? But in this case,
it is.
if I had to watch Joe 90, I would want to see a darker, grittier version of Joe 90. To be honest, and it's probably something more akin to Alex Rider. With the kind of the technical side of Joss Whedon's Dollhouse. Which was about the implanting of memories and skills into secret agents, I believe. So if you combine those two, I can see there being some serious potential.
And I mean, you talk about a big budget version of Secret Service.
Yes.
I mean, and I'd just like to point out, in Stormbreaker, I played a vicar.
Did you?
I've got form if you're, if that happens and they need a new, Father Unwin.
Well, I did write a treatment for a new Secret Service a few years ago.
You?
Yeah, it was really fun and I was really pleased with it, but
yes.
I've never tried to do anything with it, but who knows?
Well,
maybe one day.
Who knows? Yes. Lovely.
You don't sound very convinced, but who knows? Well, what would you do, Podsterons, if you could go for a live-action Gerry Anderson reboot? Which one would it be and why?
Don't say Captain Scarlet.
Well, everyone says Captain Scarlet because it's an easy one,
exactly.
but maybe, actually you think, Terrorhawks. Well, good idea.
Yes, okay.
Or maybe you're thinking Supercar. I don't know.
Candy and Andy, yeah.
Yeah, maybe not that
Okay.
one. Okay.
Supercar, yes, I could see that.
Yeah, well, Dirk Maggs would certainly love to see a live-action Supercar, I know. But anyway, do let us know, SPA, as much as you possibly can, and email us podcast@gerryanderson.com.
You see, it's catching on, isn't it?
Well, only because I'm saying it repeatedly.
Yeah,
but
true.
Let's give it a few weeks and see if it catches on or not.
Right.
Anyway, look, that's the end, I think, of this week's Remake
Live
Fact!
Oh, yeah, you see, I went live because of live action.
Live
but
remake?
it
Live
doesn't mean
action
to say,
remake?
Yeah, so not very successful.
No.
But,
About as
sorry.
successful as Thunderbirds 2004, I'd say. Oh, ouch, I know.
Yes, come on, let's leave
Forgive
that.
me.
Now, over in our email bag, Jeff Tilley has been looking back. Now, this will interest you, Jamie. Hi, Jamie. I found this email buried in my Outlook folder. Amazingly, the link to the press release still actually works. And he attached the Word document, which reads, press release, embargoed until 00.01 GMT, 21st of August, 2013. Stand by for action as Anderson Entertainment's first Gerry Anderson convention is go.
Oh.
The event promises to deliver an exclusively Anderson experience, celebrating the life and legacy of British television's most celebrated science fiction producer and creator of tele-fantasy classics, including Thunderbirds, Space 1999, Joe 90, Captain Scarlet, UFO and Stingray, Andercon 2014 will be taking place on the weekend of Saturday 19th and Sunday the 20th of April 2014 at the Park Inn Hotel, Heathrow Airport, London.
And it did.
And it did. There you go. He says that was over 8 years ago, and it's been a time of leaps and bounds since then. Before your endeavours, Anderson fandom felt neglected. Now it's the best it's ever been.
Aww.
Cheers from Jeff.
Isn't that lovely?
Is that nice?
Thanks,
Yes.
Jeff. That's so nice to look back at these things and these little ideas that come up along the way. And
Yeah, absolutely right.
Well, more of those, I hope. Now that we are coming out of all the COVID stuff and real world things are happening, I think hopefully we'll see some more events.
That would be great. Now, here's an email from someone who just signs himself as AF. So AF says, howdy, gents. Warmest greetings from my point in time and space. I managed to find your podcast while I was recovering from being sick and stuck in bed.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
I mean, I hope it helped. I initially found my way to you after a suggested random link brought me to the Tech Talk briefings on the Gerry Anderson YouTube channel. My experience with the Anderverse started with Space 1999 as it ran on the PBS station in our area in the 1980s. Either my memory is odd or the local station mixed up the episodes because I remember them running in a strange order, alternating episodes at random between seasons 1 and 2. Yeah, could have happened. Once I got to college in the 1990s, I found UFO, and then I was introduced to Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet via the Sci-Fi and A&E, which is Arts and Entertainment channels. The 2000s saw me scouring the internet and trading VHS tapes for choppy versions of New Captain Scarlet, which couldn't be found anywhere else. Fast forward to 200 podcasts later, literally taking you three with me everywhere I go. A membership to the Podsterons Facebook group and a lot of Gerry Anderson products, which have been delivered to my home. All this in the last few months.
Oh.
Wow. Now, because of you three agents of joy, he says, or she says, they say, I have discovered all the Anderson productions I had no previous knowledge about, including Space Precinct, which Richard James barely mentions, new Thunderbirds episodes, Lavender Castle, Secret Service, Big Finish Audio Adventures, Firestorm, I missed the Kickstarter, and new projects coming all the time. I will say that I have a lot of material to watch and digest as the year progresses. As an aside to Jamie, I'm staying on this channel for my first viewing of Terrorhawks and the associated associated audio dramas. I hear there is an emergency. And for Richard, I've got to get some Space Precincts book to read before I start on that new box set that's making its way to me. SIG-AF. There you go. Coming to Terrorhawks for the first time. Imagine that.
You have to come to everything for the first time at some point.
Yeah, it's true.
So
yeah. Good
that's great, though.
Yeah, Jonathan Bell has sent us a lovely voice clip. He says, Dear Richard and Jamie, it was a great weekend all round. This is going back to our podcast, live podcast, and, of course, a Standby for Action concert in Birmingham 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was nice to see people aged from 5 to 85 to celebrate the great legacy of a true legend that is your father, Jamie. So I include a voice clip for you, and this is from Jonathan Bell.
Thank you for a great weekend, Jamie and Richard and all at Anderson Entertainment. It was a very wonderful concert to bring back good memories for me, and I've ordered the DVD of the concert, which will be a Father's Day present for my dad, because he was an original Gerry Anderson fan, growing up, starting his Talk to the Battery Boy, right through to like when he was in his 20s to Space 1999. It truly was a great weekend, and I hope that, Jamie, that you like the Doctor Who coasters I got for you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Oh, lovely.
Isn't
lovely.
that nice?
I like how many kind of multi-generational pairings this has brought together, whether they're at the concert or not.
Very true.
It's a real lovely sharing thing, so thank you for that.
Very true. It was rather nice at the live podcast, wasn't it, when Trevor introduced his son Ollie to us?
Yes, we loved that.
Nice moment. Yeah. Hello, it's James here, says James.
Hello, James.
Yes, I'm the lucky sod who won the tickets to Standby for Action and the other weekend events. Oh, well done you, James. I wanted to send out a massive thank you to everyone involved for such a great weekend. Watching A Life Uncharted was a very moving and bittersweet experience, and so much of a tearjerker. It shone so much on Gerry's life and really gave everyone an insight into the man. Then, the next day, after my friend and I enjoyed another of our fandoms by watching the new Sonic movie, we had an absolute blast at the live podcast where, thanks to the odd order I've been listening to the podcast and a couple of lucky guesses, I managed to come second in the pre-recording competition.
Oh, yes, James, that was amazing luck.
Yes, we haven't mentioned that, have we? Seeing Thunderbirds Are Go on the big screen was truly special, and after a quick run to the Symphony Hall, it was great to meet everyone at the VIP meet and greet, though I likely made a fool of myself being somewhat overwhelmed. Speaking of the meet and greet, I must give a special thank you to John Coleshaw and Lindsay Lee for getting Parker to give a birthday greeting for my friend's dad's 70th. And then, of course, we had the amazing concert itself. It's so hard to pick a highlight, but if I had to, it would be hearing the whole Terrorhawks suite with the full orchestra vocals as it deserved to be. Once again, a big thank you to everyone involved, and also the other attendees who I chatted to who made me feel so welcome. Well, that's Podsterons for you. He says, we truly are a wonderful fandom, and it's so lovely to see classic stuff revisited even as new stuff is being made. Keep up the fantastic work. And that's from James Munro, who adds a PS. As I promised Richard, my Space Precinct DVDs have been ordered and are en route.
Yes.
SBA. Good. Great to hear.
Brilliant.
Yeah, lovely. I mean, yes, talking of the concert, we haven't really spoken much about it, apart from people emailing us to say how much they enjoyed it. But I think a highlight for lots of people was the Terrorhawks suite by Richard Harvey. It was a real standout moment, wasn't it? And I think it took
super
quite
special.
a few people by surprise, if I might say.
Yeah, I suspect there was a lot of, Terrorhawks is all right. And then Richard just performed his heart out.
That's right.
As did the orchestra. And it sounded so good. And I often find those bits of music, the thing with doing opening and closing titles is they are going to be 45 to 90 seconds max.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of time to get into it. You know what's coming. And you enjoy it for what it is. But I felt like Terrorhawks is one of those performances where you sort of lose yourself in it. You lose any perception of time, and you just get into the flow of loving it for what it is.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, it was a 9.5 minute suite, I think, and it didn't feel like 9.5 minutes because it was just so engaging. So, there you go. Absolutely. And I know I'm biased with Terrorhawks, but, I think you'll hear from a lot of people who even are not big fans of Terrorhawks, and they still loved that suite.
Absolutely right, yeah. Finally for now then, Tom Hodden's been in touch via email. Dear Jamie, Richard, Chris et al. I'm sure that many new listeners will have joined the fold since the concert and the live podcast. As such, some of the subtle in-jokes about the mysterious number of podcasts might seem confusing, so allow me to welcome our new Podsteron friends and explain. Before the podcasts available on your feed now, there were a number of super secret episodes that were never meant to be released but accidentally entered the feed. Those of us who listened are under sworn oath not to reveal their contents, lest the tortured one and his minions seek us out and ensure our silence. So, you absolutely will not hear from me how Richard won the right to be the co-host after narrowly besting his competition in gladiatorial combat, nor that FAB Facts was once more extreme, being recorded while base jumping off shooting locations from the Protectors, nor that early episodes of the Randomiser were recorded during car chases while Chris Dale tried to escape the lifelong grudge that Twizzle still holds. Thankfully, Richard has now loosened the procedure for joining the Podsterons to a few questions and a friendly hello, which is far more efficient than the old system of secretive interviews, strange handshakes, robed ceremonies to the dark entity known as Marina, and the ever-popular cosplay assault course. It goes without saying that if you ask other Podsterons, they will, of course, deny everything. Many thanks for all the hard work on the podcast, and that's from Tom.
Well,
Great.
And then, of course, there's that episode where you turn the air blue. Do you remember?
Yes, I do remember that. That's right, and I knew nothing about it until I think, where were we? We were somewhere. Was it even a previous live podcast? I don't know. And Terry Adams said, oh yeah, it's funny in that one where you
it was when we were sat with Terry in the Costa near your old house, wasn't it?
Right.
And we were like, oh yeah, Terry, that's very funny. He was like, no, I'm serious.
Yeah. What?
Oh.
Is it what? Yeah.
And I think it still exists on YouTube.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's still on YouTube.
Pass over that.
Anyway, ignoring that.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's all for now. But there are still some more emails to come, so we'll dive back into the postbox a little later on.
Excellent. Gosh, there's loads more to come actually, but we should probably have some Gerry Anderson news, shouldn't we?
Oh, go on.
Okay, right, well, then I suppose here's this week's Gerry Anderson news. Yes, Podsterons, you know the secret code. Do it with me now. It's
news. Oh, so what you said? You said do it now.
Yeah, but I was going to say it's time for this week's Gerry Anderson.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Newsy.
Oh, so now I say it. Oh.
Now there's just loads of people muttering to themselves.
Oh.
Right, ready? Here we go.
News.
It's time for this week's Gerry Anderson
news.
Gerry Anderson news.
Oh
God, I think you're going to get a verbal warning after this one, Richard James. Anyway,
right.
There's lots of stuff. Let's begin, as always, with the first item, which is this. So let's start with this. If you're planning a mission to the moon, which I'm sure you all are, then you won't want to go without your trusty anti-radiation pills, will you? Well, especially delivered from the World Space Commission, our new anti-radiation pills are available now. Actually, no anti-radioactive effect, I'm afraid to say. They are, in fact, mint sweets, but they are in a rather snazzy orange and cream and black labelled bottle. They look rather cool. Nice gift for you, anyone Space 1999 mad, or just mad, potentially, from radiation sickness, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you'll enjoy those. If you're looking for a bargain, our eBay store is coming back now after some time away, because we've all been very, very busy. There'll be some new bargains and listings coming very, very soon. Just go to eBay and search for Anderson Entertainment. This week, you may have just seen, or you will be seeing very shortly, a video trailer for the concert. So you get a little flavour of the visuals you'll be experiencing in the DVD or the Blu-ray, and you'll be able to hear the mixed version that you'll be hearing on the soundtrack. So I'm very excited about that.
Oh.
If you're looking to see Gerry Anderson, A Life Uncharted, I'm happy you joined us at Bristol or at Uckfield last week. Well, coming next week on the 18th of May, we're at Glasgow at the Glasgow Film Theatre. The 21st, we're at Norden Farm in Maidenhead. And then the following week, the 28th, that's Saturday, we are at MCM London. Not to do a full screening, but to do a Q&A, show you some clips and extra special bits and pieces, and to tell you some things that didn't make it into the final doc. We are aiming to have a London screening somewhere around then as well, so stand by for more news there. Mm-hmm. If you have the Anderapp, then stand by for action this Friday as we have our first Anderappsclusive, it's a bit awkward to say, isn't it, flash sale. Yep, one special item from the Gerry Anderson store will be selected this Friday at 12 p.m, and you'll receive a notification in the app of how to get said item for a massive discount, in this case of 20% off, a fifth off for our Friday flash sale app exclusive. It's very effy.
Nice.
So if not, then if you haven't already got it, then download the app from your app store, whether you're an iPhone or an Android person. Just pop along and search for Anderapp, ANDERAPP. And are you enjoying your Stingray Blu-rays? We'd love to know. We've seen them dropping all over the place. Those who were lucky enough to get the Super Deluxe and the Deluxe versions from Network and now from the Gerry Anderson store, they seem to be popping up everywhere. Lots of lovely images on social media. Even little Minnie, my dog, is excited, as you can hear. We'd love to see your images. Email us, podcast@gerryanderson.com. All right, Minnie. Or just tweet us, #Gerry Anderson Podcast, and we'd love to see your collection, where it's at, and maybe a happy you as well, showing you're enjoying it. That now, I think, is the end of this week's Gerry Anderson News.
That was the news! That was the news!
Gosh.
Oh.
A bit of a
Sorry,
roller coaster there.
A bit high there. Yeah. Great. Oh, I mean, there's still stuff, isn't there? There's
Lovely,
still stuff
lovely
happening.
Yes,
I know.
yes.
What's, do you think, the best bit of Gerry Anderson news you've ever heard?
Ooh.
And then I'll tell you mine.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, right. Shall I
It's
wade
difficult
in
for
then?
me. Yeah, please, what's yours?
Now, this is a real exclusive because I'm going to be talking money.
Oh, are you?
Okay? Yeah. The
Go
best
on.
bit of Gerry Anderson news I ever heard
Yeah.
was when I heard from my agent that my fee for doing Space Precinct in 1994-95 had risen from £36,000 to £49,500.
What? A week?
That is an exclusive. No. There you go. I don't think that information is out there in any form. That's what I got for Space Precinct.
Goodness me, that's amazing.
And that huge leap was because it had been sold to so many more territories. This is before we even started work, before
Wow.
a frame had been shot. Suddenly, week by week it went up.
That's
and then
brilliant,
suddenly
isn't it?
A massive jump. Yes. There you go.
Yeah,
There's
so
the
that-
exclusive.
That does actually chime with other stuff I've heard, though, because on New Captain Scarlet, several of the team had signed their contracts for their certain roles.
Yeah.
And then they got their first pay packet, and it had been increased because
there
they
you
managed
go.
to raise some more money for the show, and so
Yes.
Dad elected to increase their amount beyond their contract, which is kind of
Nice.
it's rather nice, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, I have to say, I've never earned quite so much again. For those of you who are thinking, well, it's all right for these actors, 50 grand a year. Well, that happened once.
Yeah. Well, once many years ago.
That's right. That's right.
Ouch.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. There we go.
Fair enough. Well, I'm glad it made you happy for a year. So
Well, it certainly did. Yes. Been living on it ever since. Certainly in terms of coffees, teas. Yeah. Of course, I was in Space Precinct. Can I have a free coffee?
yeah,
You'd be surprised.
Charlotte's not fed up with that joke at all, is she?
That's right. Yeah. Now we do have some more emails. I'm going to head back on over to our to our email bag. This is from Steve.
Our face bag. I think that's a
Face
great
bag,
idea.
Our nose bag. Thank you, says Steve, ever so much for putting on a fantastic weekend last weekend. Ah, yes, so this is about the concert and so on. The documentary which I attended, or rather I will attend at Uckfield Picture House, and the live podcast and the concert. It was absolutely fantastic to meet you and the fellow Potters. This was just what we all needed after the last 2 years.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah. There was a real sense of that, wasn't there?
Yeah. Happy to get back together.
Absolutely. He says, sorry if I got a bit emotional during the podcast recording, which is my excuse for getting Willow's name wrong. We've just reviewed the documentary at the Potter's Arms, and it resonates with many of us regarding the last year of your dad's life and how it was allowed, or rather has allowed people to be able to relate to what you were going through. It's a shame your dad never fully accepted how great a showmaker he was, but I hope that you do. And I also hope you appreciate how special that weekend was to us all. Well done to you and all the team. And that's from Steve. P.S. I'm still buzzing after a week. Can it really be a week already? He says. Okay, he sent that in a while ago. It's a bit longer than that now, but yeah, what a weekend it was. It is a sad thing. I mean, we mentioned this before, that it was never really enough for your dad to appreciate the work that he'd done, and what a big thing that was in many people's lives, and that is inherently a very sad thing, isn't it?
It is, but I think it was part of the makeup necessary to make those things which people loved. So
True.
they're two sides of the same coin, and it's
True.
an unavoidable part of it.
Had he been the sort to rest on his laurels, he wouldn't have driven forward and broken the mould and given us new stuff, would he?
Exactly. He could have just stuck with sort of travelogue showcase documentaries like you've never seen this, and
That's right.
And that would have been that. But
Yes.
no,
Yes.
amazing, really.
Would there still be a Gerry Anderson podcast, I wonder, if it was just you've never seen? Yeah, I mean, imagine.
I don't know. I guess, we would have never met, would we?
Oh, there's always every cloud, I suppose. Now, Hannah has also finally got in touch to say to Jamie, Richard, Chris and others, I just want to say thank you all for the amazing weekend back in April. I had a lovely time. It was great seeing all of you again, and some new faces too, and I hope you had a good journey home. I enjoyed watching the documentary, I had a good laugh at the live podcast, and the concert was wonderful. I was very sad when it was all over, and I was driving home. I was literally crying inside me, but I'm very glad that I went. I've already pre-ordered the concert Blu-ray, and I look forward to reliving it all again. Thank you very much. Until we meet again, from Hannah. There you go, Hannah. That's exactly it, isn't it? We'll have the Blu-ray. You can listen to the podcast anytime you want. We will meet again. But in the meantime, it's all there for you to enjoy one more time or whenever you want. That's nice, isn't it?
Oh, it's lovely.
Yeah, there we are. So a bit later on, we'll be heading on over to our Facebook group, because I don't know, Jamie, if you know this, but we have a Facebook group all to ourselves.
I've heard of that before.
There are a few other people, yeah, that's right.
Is it by chance at facebook.com/groups/Podsterons?
Yes, you might well be right. And they post pictures of their cosplay and their merch and their thoughts of, reviews and comments of various things, and I'll be reading some of them out a bit later on.
Yeah. Do you know what I've just had a thought about?
What's that then?
Well, there were so many lovely people at the concert and the live podcast recording and the screening before, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And we often talk about how a lovely place it is to be.
Yes.
I'm just thinking, Ricky Gervais, love him or hate him, whatever, and Afterlife and all that being very successful,
Yeah,
and he always
yeah.
just says best fans in the world. I wonder if we should say best fans in the universe.
Very good.
Because I feel
think that's
like
absolutely right.
I feel like that is pretty much true.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna tweet
like that.
it right now.
Oh, are you? Right now?
Hashtag best fans in the universe. There you go.
Just that? Is that it?
Well,
What, a picture or anything? Or just that?
I'll find a GIF or something. All right.
Oh, okay.
Go-
Yeah.
Wait. thanks for-
Sorry. Can it be the gif of me poking my head out of the sort of the skip from Space?
I don't feel like that's the.
No.
No.
It's not appropriate.
No.
Can it be the one of me sort of fist bumping with Beazle? No,
Maybe.
not
Does it
wrong.
have to be you?
Yeah. Well, can it be the one of me when I look to Romek and he sort of sinks out of shot?
I'll tell you what. I'm going to go for the title sequences.
Oh, all right then. Fair enough.
Is that all right? Doesn't have to
makes
be
sense.
about
Yeah.
you.
No. Oh, okay. Wish it was about me.
Anyway, everything else is about you. Get on with it. Isn't there something
Well,
else?
I'm just saying. No, I've read some emails, and we're going to our
Oh.
Facebook group a little later on. We've had the news, we've had FAB Facts, and now it's time for part 2 of Ben's interview, surely.
That makes great sense. Recorded purely for hashtag the best fans in the universe. Yes, Keith Alexander, also known as Keith Buckley, is back for part 2 of 3 with producer Ben, and we'll hand over to them right now.
So we were talking about, as far as the order of things, do you think it was Thunderbird 6 that you worked on first for Sylvia?
No, I'd already done voices in Thunderbirds, and then I can't remember if Doppelganger came before Thunderbird 6 or not. That's
Would have been pretty close together.
very close, yeah.
Yeah. And then...
It's very interesting. When I went to or be auditioned by Robert Parrish for Thunderbird 6, I think I just said about 2 or 3 words. He says, "Oh, you're right, mate." So that was it. But we went out to have a coffee, etc. And as we walked out the foyer at Pinewood, there's a massive piece of rock on a stand in the foyer, as I've said. Uh-huh. And Robert, I'll never forget, he took one look at that and he says, "That tooth has definitely got to come out." And that's the sort of guy he was. Very, very funny and a very good director.
Yeah. What was his kind of style in directing Doppelganger? Did he have a lot of notes to give, or was he very kind of dictatorial, or what was he like on set?
In no way. I mean, he was just one of the guys. He, with Hendry and Finesse and Weimark, I think he didn't warm to Weimark very much, not because the character was, that Patrick was playing was abrasive or anything like that. It's just that he just related in a very kind way, and he didn't say more than a few words, just I want a bit more of that, a little bit less than that. You let that slip, we could make a bit more of that sort of thing. No, a very kind, caring, experienced director. He knew when to say something. Never saw him bawl anyone out.
Yeah.
As was Gerry. I mean, Gerry was a good director. He knew that he could rely on the casting being right. But one of the things that used to annoy him terribly was script noise. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, if you're behind the mic and you have a piece of paper.
You got it?
Yeah.
Somewhat exaggerated, but English actors are very poor, or were at the time, with script noise. And in fact, they were so self-conscious of turning a page that they would carefully drop the page they finished with onto the floor, but of course someone else would tread on it and make a noise anyway. We were very experienced at handling scripts, one off the other, etc., and very experienced at working the same microphone, all around the same microphone, dodging in and out, etc., taking that moment when you were on, because you could never be totally on with someone else's script in your nose, so you couldn't read your script or whatever it might be. A great deal of choreography, I'd say, was involved. We were pretty light on our feet to dance in amongst one another to say what we had to say.
It sounds like a dance, trying to gather around the mic and find your way in to get your line said in time.
But Gerry was very upset about this paper noise, so he experimented with all kinds of paper. And the most ridiculous kind he ever came up with was a kind of blotting paper. So you know what blotting paper's like. It's very sort of, the texture's rough. And so when you pulled one page against the other, you could hardly stop it from making a tearing sound. Anyway, so eventually we persuaded him that there were, there were ways around this. And but the other thing was he would take us off. We rehearse. Oh, you probably want to know how we used to rehearse. All the series involving the Super Marionation were treated as radio scripts. So we did them from beginning to end, just like a play. Films, of course, and television has done, scenes here, scenes there. And sometimes you'd never meet characters in that particular episode at all. But we'd rehearse this and get it to so-called concert pitch, and then Gerry would take us off for a boozy lunch, a wonderful, wonderful lunch with...
That's one of the most important things about any acting gig.
Yes.
Is how good is the lunch.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, Gerry would then have to say, look, chaps, the rehearsal was absolutely wonderful, etc., but the performance sort of lacked a little bit of that je ne sais quoi, that we had then. What is it? Now, there are two reasons for that. One was the booze, obviously. That's what affected the Australians. With the English actor, there were two effects. There was the booze and the dying fall. Do you know what the dying fall is?
No.
Well, I hadn't encountered it until I worked in the UK. In the UK and even here in Australia, when you cause a mistake of any sort, it means re-recording something. Back in the day when I started, recordings were made on acetate, big discs, more than getting on for 50 centimeters in diameter. And I once a pal of mine made a mistake on the very last line of an episode of Hop Harrigan. And he had done that 3 times in a row. I found him on the steps of Macquarie 2GB in tears saying, I'll never work again. And he was lucky that he was able to. But in the UK, your name goes into a black book. And the Grade organization, one of the biggest organizations in television at the time, had the black book. And no matter how famous you were, if your name went in that black book, you weren't working. So the dying fall was an actor not really going for the inspirational performance, which only comes from being totally released and able to give it everything that you're feeling. They would hold back because of the fear of ending up in that black book.
Yeah, being cautious.
Yeah. And all these technologies were invented so that retakes cause minimal fuss. Just do it again, mate. Done, But no, that's the way it was then. And probably still today with certain directors and producers who just see that as a mark against your ability.
Yeah, or when there's a time crunch or a live performance.
Yep.
In those days, did you, if you made a mistake, did you just start the line again, or did you have to go back to the top of the scene?
Originally, that's what you had to do.
When you were recording for Gerry and Sylvia?
That's how it was with Gerry and Sylvia. You just take a pause, take a breath, and say it. Not rush it, just remember how you're saying it, because so often people, when they correct themselves, they correct it in a hurry, and it just doesn't edit in well.
Yeah. So Gerry directed a lot of those dialogue sessions himself, or were there other people that stepped in to direct?
Gerry did mostly, but we had David Lane and others, of course. I've just got to think for the moment.
What was the directing technique like? Did they just kind of, I guess because of the time, they just kind of had to let you go, or did they give a lot of performance notes, or was there anything like that before lunch that they said, okay, well, this is kind of what this is, and then you come back and do it after lunch, or?
No, not really. He might have grabbed someone to one side and just said something to them, but, I'm glad to say I wasn't grabbed.
Yeah.
But his directing style was good and precise. Usually things got ironed out after the first read anyway. And in fact, it's very interesting, the so-called first read, first take situation, which you may or may not know about. A first take is special because it's the first time you're actually doing something. So there's a feeling that because it's new. It's like a first kiss. You can never have a first kiss again. But as a professional, your first take doesn't have to be your best take because that's the stamp you've put on it. Mm-hmm. You're saying to yourself, if I'm happy with that, you're saying to yourself, I'm incapable of improving my performance. And that's in my opinion, the death of an actor. And there are too many actors who will thrive and live on first performances. They'll feel that was it because it felt good and was special. It doesn't have to feel good for you. It's got to feel good for the audience. And the whole thing about acting is not, particularly since in the modern era where acting for real, Stanislavski and all of that became in vogue. Well, that's what I call peeping Tomism acting. If you were to go down the street and you were allowed to peek into somebody's window, you would see real life.
Yeah.
But unless you're some kind of voyeur, you'd probably find it pretty boring because real life is boring. Now and then there's a murder and something really exciting that happens in quick time, yes, but in the main, no, we are slow. Mm-hmm. The art of the actor and the writer and director, of course, is to compress that, accelerate it when necessary, delay it when necessary, or whatever it might be. It is it's something that when people think that acting is easy, and sometimes it's presented as easy because you can get an actor or a personality and put them into a film or a play, etc., and they're good, but they're only good at being themselves. They are still capable of being boring.
Right.
And the trouble with so much of this is people are watching personalities rather than the character.
Right, That's successful casting more than successful acting.
Yes, but people are going along to see that person. They're not going along to see that story, you know. They're happy with that. And, okay, if they're happy, they're happy. But it's not really what it's all about. I mean, for example, I really lament the advent of television in this sense, because all the talented people in radio saw television as the great opportunity to move to this new and exciting medium. And certainly it was, and still is, if it's used properly. But so they abandoned radio and its wonderful ability to include the audience, because when you're listening to something on radio, you're engaged, you're clothing the character, you're describing, you understand the beauty of the woman, the poignancy of the scene. All radio is offering are all the prompts to your own imagination, which make it special. Now, when you watch television, it's very passive. You're sitting there, and right in the middle of all, there's someone saying, "Oh, isn't he the one that's married to so and so?" Yes, and he did so, or she did so with so and so, etc., etc.
Yeah.
The performance is going down.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the neat things about the puppet shows, is that they're not complete actors. They're just puppets, and so there's some room for the imagination to kind of finish the performance in a way.
Absolutely.
You see the puppet and you hear the voice. Your brain puts it together and makes a character.
Yes, and so the audience is involved, and somehow or other they must get pleasure from that process.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah. When you came in and did Thunderbirds 6, there obviously had been Thunderbirds before that. Did you feel at home with that cast? Was there any sense of
very much
just right away just clicked?
Well, having worked with Jeremy Wilkin and Matt Zimmer and Matt Zimmer and
Zimmerman.
Shane Rimmer. I mean, we always confuse that. No, they were very welcoming and made one feel at home. So it was just another step.
Yeah. So had you worked with a lot of them before? Were they familiar faces to you, for the most part?
I had worked with Shane in a BBC play. I just can't think of the name of it for the moment. But I had worked before I even went to the UK with some famous personalities, because in radio we had 2 premier commercial stations doing 1-hour live plays. And I said live too.
Yeah.
So I worked with Vincent Price and
oh, wow.
Sir Ralph Richardson and so many. Anne Miller. Now, Anne Miller, the famous dancer, we rehearsed a Lux Radio Theatre play. I can't remember the name for the moment. And she's not noted for her acting, but she's a personality, and she's super intelligent, actually. We had the rehearsal, and then Harry Dirth, the producer, was giving her notes, and Anne Miller said, "Look, this girl here, she's a much better actress than I am. She's going to play my part, and I'll play hers." And Harry said, "Oh, but, he was thinking, well, look, we've paid dollars to get you out here, dear. We want to get our money's worth."
Sure.
But anyway, she wowed the audience because she came on in the most wonderfully colourful and a beautiful gown you've ever seen, and fantastic shoes. And, of course, she did a tap dance for us before the show started. So, the audience was happy, and Harry too.
Oh, that's amazing. Amazing. So after Thunderbirds and Doppelganger, there's Joe 90. Joe 90, you got to play the American spy hero, Sam Loover.
Yeah.
What was that like, being Sam?
Well, he was mainly a voice, really.
Yeah.
I can't say that I found anything particularly challenging in him, but I very much enjoyed the performances and the presence of little Len Jones.
Yeah.
Who worked a separate microphone. We wanted to include him, to make him feel comfortable with us and, embrace him, so to speak, in the warmth of welcome. But I think it was David, wanted him separate to get a different slight acoustic on him.
Yeah.
But then, of course, to work with the fantastic Rupert Davies, or Davis as he's called in the UK, who played the irrepressible and wonderful best ever Maigret.
Yes.
He told me a great story of when he was working on Waterloo at the time, and with the great actor-director Sergei Bondarchuk, who played Pierre in War and Peace, and married the wonderful Anna, his wife Irena. And of course, Napoleon was played by Rod Steiger.
Yeah.
Very much of the method school that I've been referring to earlier.
Very much so, yeah.
And of course, he was, I can't imagine that Napoleon would be played with any sort of method other than bravura, because that's the way Napoleon strutted and was, one presumes. Anyway, Steiger was doing this, that, and the other with a role, and forever telling Bondarchuk what to do, and Bondarchuk was very amenable sort of guy. He'd be saying, "Da Steiger," agreeing with him, etc. But then the poor man got into his chauffeur-driven car with his Irena later in the day, and she's belting him on the chest. "What for you say this? Da Steiger, da Steiger, da Steiger, the capitalist swine, you know." So she gave him absolute hell. But then at the same time, old Rupert told about having a radio with him at the time, and he played BBC radio news to the Cossack army there, which has supplied all the soldiers for the Battle of Waterloo. And eventually a commandant came up to him and said, "You stop playing this BBC propaganda for my men. Otherwise, like the horses here, they cut." Because many of the horses got cut throats when they fell. All these subtitles about no animals are hurt in the making of this film, that's absolute nonsense. With Waterloo, lots of horses were slaughtered, and their grooms were crying as they slit their throats.
Oh, it's terrible. Certainly in those days, there wasn't nearly as much safety on set for animals.
And kind of animal welfare.
Yeah, more of a more recent thing. But how cool is that you got to hear that story from Rupert?
Well, I got to hear lots of stories because I've done a lot of interviews in my time as well, and it's ridiculous because when you interview someone, you're paid to do it, and you're having a conversation you'd love to have anyway with somebody you'd like to meet, you wouldn't otherwise meet. You get the opportunity to learn from them if you can just shut up and ask the right questions, and at the same time, if there's any chance of a relationship or a friendship, it does blossom. So I could be a colossal name dropper, mentioning lots and lots of people I've interviewed, and even your Dorothy Parker and Ronald Reagan and many others.
It's extraordinary.
But a wonderful experience. I actually had a bad reputation for a while there because about 6 people in a row that I interviewed died within 6 months.
Oh, no.
So they used to joke in the office that don't let him interview that person. I don't want them to die.
Well, I'm just off to the doctor's office now. I'll see you later. That's funny.
Ooh, one more part of that to come,
Yeah, good.
Because that was part 2 of 3, and
was it?
Part the 3rd is next week in Pod 205.
I see. And Pod 1, or rather the first part, was last week.
In Pod 203, you're right.
Pod 203.
You're getting good at this math stuff, Richard.
I am, yeah. Yeah, that's what I love about people like Keith is hearing from people who were there at the time. We have celebrity fans, we have people who've, dissected Gerry Anderson's work, but it's nice to hear, isn't it, from those voices that were there at the time. That's always fascinating.
Absolutely, yes. And there are fewer and fewer of them. With the sad things like the recent passing of Leo Eaton, who we were very lucky to speak to over several parts, many tens of podcasts ago. Yes, fewer and fewer voices, so it's great to hear from them. So well done, Ben, for arranging, and thank you, Keith, for being part of this podcast.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Very much. And talking of voices we like to hear from, Let's head on over to our Facebook group where we've been hearing from lots of our Podsterons. For example, from China, it's Paul Hyder, who says, now he says the Mistron rings in Captain Scarlet were presumably shone with some sort of torch. Has this flashlight ever been seen on any behind-the-scenes pics, or is there any more info on it? Does anyone own it, for example?
That's a great question.
So,
I don't know. I mean,
green rings.
I assume it will have been a bit of a lighting rig with a gel and some shapes across the front. I've not seen it.
I think they call it.
Yes, I'm not sure. I don't think I've seen it in action, so I don't know.
No.
But someone like the Randomiser will know, so I'll ask him later. But unfortunately, he's currently polishing a doorknob, so...
Oh, he is. Oh, you can see his face in that.
Yeah, impressive.
Oh, no, sorry, that is his face. Sorry. Rob Doyle says the Starburst TV Zone Plus podcast reviews a live Uncharted and talks about the concert in episode 96. This is host Paul Mount, who's a massive Anderson fan. It's well worth listening to. He gave both 9 out of 10.
Oh, that's lovely, isn't it?
That's all right, isn't it?
Brilliant.
Yeah, if you consider that you could never get to 10 out of 10 because that's perfection.
No, 10 out of 10 would be ridiculous. So.
Yeah, wouldn't it? Keith Gooch says, am I the only one that wants to see the one and only complete episode of Gerry Anderson's GFI released on DVD in the near future?
Anyone else? No.
I think he is. I think he is the one and only.
Yeah, just you, Keith. So sadly, we can't justify it for one person. So sorry.
So are you saying, Jamie, if there was a clamour of interest, it might be released?
It would have to be a very significant clamour, I can tell you that. I've got my own definition for what a clamour is in this case, and it's more significant than you might expect.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm going to start the ball rolling right here. AC commented underneath and said, "It's just horrible. It's not even so bad. It's good. It's just bad.
So bad.
Gary
it's bad."
Martin's, Gary Martin's voice work and the somewhat catchy theme tune are about the only halfway decent things about it.
Yeah. No, the best thing about it was the promotional GFI watch that I had when I was a kid.
Oh.
Now that was very cool.
I bet it was.
But everything else, terrible.
Yuhan says, I was so worried that I wouldn't have any pay after being stuck at home with COVID for nearly 2 weeks that I considered asking if there were any Podsterons here that would be generous enough to buy me a copy of Stand By for Action on Blu-ray. I mean, do you know what, Yuhan? I bet they would have done. But he says, fortunately, my pay did come through, and not only am I still on top of my mortgage repayments, few, but I got a bit left over to pre-order a copy for myself. Now I can share in the experience many Podsterons had at the concert, albeit vicariously through the Blu-ray. Looking forward to it shipping in a few months, and that's from Yuhan. Yeah, great. Clint Nickel, I just ordered the Blu-ray as I'm in Australia, so I couldn't attend the concert. I'm assuming the CD will not have any more music than the Blu-ray, otherwise I'm going to be in trouble with the missus, says Clint.
No, you'll have the same lineup. There might be slightly different editing between tracks and stuff, but it'll be the same lineup.
Okay, Steve Beresford, I currently hate Chris Dale.
Well. I mean, I won't agree with you because he's doing an absolute top-notch job of cleaning up my kitchen. He's so grateful. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But why do you hate him?
He says, thanks to Chris showing the first episode of Torchy at Pod 201, I'm going to have to watch the second episode to finish the story.
Really?
Kit, he says.
Really? Yeah. Are you going to have to?
Really,
I'm not sure about that.
Really? Yeah. James Munro, who we heard from last week, I think he was the lucky winner of the competition, says, one adventure is over, but another is about to begin. I've just finished watching Lavender Castle, and I don't think there's any other way to describe this show other than charming. It's just an utterly charming, fun, and sweet kids show. I love its visual style, even if the CGI parts are somewhat dated now. Sir Squeak-a-Lot is an adorable robot, and Walking Stick is such a snark, and yet, despite being aimed at small kids and often ignoring the laws of physics like breathing in space, it still doesn't talk down to its viewers. It's not shy about the possibility of death. Heck, it even pulls the Anderson staple of the Everybody Dies episode. For its target audience, 10 minutes per episode feels just about right, and yet I can't help but wonder if they had aimed for kids a couple of years older with 25-minute episodes, could they have come up with something even grander, or would the magic have been lost? Anyway, on to the next show I haven't watched with Space Precinct. I think this will be a little different. Yeah.
You're right. It will be a little different, won't it?
Don't think it was ever described as charming, was it, Space Precinct?
No. Nor preschool, so...
No, certainly not. No. So what do you think? 25-minute episode Lavender Castle for older children?
I think it would have had to have been a lot older thematically, right. And maybe it wouldn't have worked so well. It's a real curio, isn't it? It's a strange thing, strange outlier in the Anderverse, but we do love it. It's very sweet, very charming.
Now, Jamie, finally, while I'm on the Facebook group, you might remember last week that Tom Hodden sent me a special choose-your-own-adventure style quickfire 5.
It was amazing.
Yeah, well, I've realised, obviously there were some options there that we didn't use last week, so providing you give me different answers this time, we can once again hear from Tom Hodden's very special Quickfire 5!
Right.
Okay, Jamie. So are you ready for this? If you remember, I'm going to read a question, and then you'll be directed down a different path depending on your answer.
I recall.
So it's just like the Choose Your Adventure game books back in the day. So, just as a refresher, today, Jamie, you will be playing the role of everybody's best primate, Mitch.
Yes.
It's a quiet day in Blackrock. Max is on his spa day. The professors are away for a stag weekend, and you, Mitch the ape, gave the kid his pocket money and sent him to the cinema. So now you're alone, unsupervised, and you have the keys to Supercar. So let's have an adventure. Question 1. For once, you won't have to ride in the boot. As you start Supercar's engines and get behind the wheel, you only have to decide, where shall we go? To the top of the sky? Or to the bottom of the ocean?
Bottom of the ocean, I think.
You plunge down into the depths of the ocean in search of sunken treasure and adventure. As you plunge down into the deepest abyss, you stray into enemy territory. Soon, an angry-looking terrorfish is looming down upon you. Quick, Mitch, what do you do? Warn them away lest they suffer your wrath, or beg for mercy?
Oh, warn them. I'm Mighty Mitch.
You open a communications channel and squawk loudly at the amphibians, and they try to respond with incoherent warbling. After 45 minutes of their warnings, and you're asking if they understand a word you're saying, you aren't sure what agreement you've reached, but they have now given you a crown, marina, and a lavender castle colouring book. Now, however, they're looking at you expectantly. What do you offer them in return? Do you let them drive Supercar, or do you promise them that after the coup, you will be a fair and honourable leader?
Oh, fair and honourable leader, of course.
As the aquamphibians give you a strange look, you really don't think that they've understood you at all. Indeed, as they take Supercar and leave you bobbing on the ocean in a life raft, it appears that you might have made a terrible mistake. As you paddle your way back to shore, you have ample time to ponder your next move. Do you, A, confess all to Max Mercury, or B, frame Joe 90?
Oh... well, I have to confess, don't I?
Yeah, you do this time, that's right. Okay, so, you try your best, waving your hands and explaining your adventure in great detail, but the humans only answer back with blank looks. Exasperated, you decide it isn't worth the effort. The humans march off, determined to find Supercar and leave you behind. Oh well, Mitch, how are you going to end it now? Do you give up and go back to bed? Or, well, if that's what they want, then why not get a few home truths off your chest?
It's home truths time.
And that's the end of this week's Quickfire 5. Phew.
Wow, bizarre.
Yeah. Good though, isn't it?
Yes.
Great value, doing it twice.
Now, we're really milking it. Max Mercury, I believe you said there.
Yeah, I did, yes. I mean, I stumbled a few times, but I had to keep the momentum going, didn't I?
No, of course, for the storytelling value. I just imagined that Max was Mike's son and we were into like a next generation thing here. That's what I was hoping
that's
for.
That's right, yeah. But it's a bit like a concert pianist. If they drop a duff note, you have to carry on.
Absolutely. Well,
so that's how I consider myself.
You are a comedic concert pianist.
Right.
Beautiful work.
Thank goodness for that.
Anyway,
yes.
Richard James. Now,
yes.
Chris has just appeard. He's still marigolded up to the nines.
He is. He's got his pinny on.
Absolutely, and his little headgear there.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, he looks lovely. But I think he's kind of indicating that he's done with the cleaning and he's done an amazing job. And it's now time for his randomiser.
Yeah, careful with that feather duster, Chris. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, Chris.
Yeah.
So careful.
Well, on that note, shall we let him do the randomiser?
I think we ought to, yes.
Before he tickles us to death. Yeah. All right. Okay, Chris, you can do it. There's a randomiser. Off you go.
Oh, Chris.
Who is it?
It's Chris Dale.
What do you want?
Well, I was rather hoping you might press the button on the randomizer for me today, Mr. Schladek.
I would like to do it.
Good evening, Mr. Schladek. How are things going with you?
The tour is progressing well.
Splendid. Well then, here's the randomizer. The button's there. Have at it.
Thank you. Hard work, but very enjoyable.
Thank you. Oh, and here, some takeaway for your trouble.
Thank you for a wonderful dinner.
Oh, you're more than welcome. It's McDonald's finest, I do assure you. Right, let's see what we have. Okay. Well, it's Lavender Castle today with the Lost Starfighter.
Good.
Yes, and I think that about concludes our business, Mr. Schladek.
Well, good night. It's been a pleasure meeting you.
Oh, and you too, sir. Yes, thank you very much.
Oh, don't believe in goodbyes then?
It's not important.
Lavender Castle, a place of legend, fabled right across the universe. This is our quest to find it.
So, welcome back to the Randomiser after a very long absence. It's Lavender Castle, which, according to my notes, we haven't seen since Pod 169 with Bird of Prey. And yeah, there's, what was it, 24 or 26 of these to get through. It shouldn't be more rare than I don't know, UFO or whatever, but it does seem like it's been a long time since we had any Lavender Castle, probably because, as I said, it has been a long time since we had any Lavender Castle. 30 weeks, in fact. That's quite a sizable chunk of the year. So far, every episode of this, because remember I have not seen this show before, has always been an enjoyable experience. So here we go with The Lost Starfighter.
Something ahoy!
And Sproggle still hasn't learnt how to use a sextant.
Must be a stealth craft. They're invisible to radar. But what's it doing out here?
Oh, I love that Roger's just, yeah, Sproggle must be right. It couldn't possibly be that he's completely incompetent. No, it must be an invisible spaceship.
It looks like a starfighter. It's the Firefly!
Oh.
My old starfighter!
Hooray!
Flying it when the pirates caught me.
Oh, okay. Rog, it's painted in sort of Spitfire camouflage colours. It's got Rog 7 on the side of it.
Handy against Dr. Aegon. What do you say, Captain?
Well...
We're, what, a minute into this story and already it's all just...
See what you can do.
It's covered, you know, here's an old spaceship. Other shows would take about 20 minutes just to get to the ship. Lavender Castle, obviously, being only 10 minutes long, can't waste any time. But of course, Trump is on the scene, relaying video to Dr. Aegon.
Catch them napping.
And that, although this is very early CGI and quite primitive, that shot of Aegon's spaceship always looks really good.
Around.
Can't Sproggle fly, Starfighter?
Because Sproggle barely knows how to use spoons. Yes, so Izzy has gone over to inspect the Starfighter. I don't know, the cockpit just seems to be open to space. I don't know if it's ever been explained how Lavender Castle characters can breathe in space, but Izzy just knocked himself out by tapping his nose on the controls.
Right. Screw that. And... It won't be the fastest starfighter in the galaxy, but it'll fly all right.
Oh, and here comes... Oh, this is the Mad Machine or the Chaos Machine, the thing that looks like an elephant.
Where would I be without you?
Aren't you going to vaporize them?
Oh, no. That's far too quick. Laser bolts will take longer.
It's not only the voice, it's the animation, obviously. The character of Dr. Aegon is just gorgeous to look at, but it's the finger animation. I love the way the fingers sort of proper evil villain finger work there. Yes, needless to say, Sproggle has fallen out of
Universe is spinning around
the paradox.
Hold on, Sproggle.
Oh, why did I think letting you go outside on your own was going to be a good idea? Yes, considering that they are in the vacuum of space, Sproggle has stepped out and somehow managed to discover gravity.
I wouldn't let that happen to you, would I, Sproggle?
Oh, and Leica's had to save him once again. Oh, and here it comes. Oh, it's the mammoth machine, isn't it? See, I'm learning. Gradually, I'm learning these things about Lavender Castle.
By that, things are getting better by the minute.
More finger waggling from Dr. Aegon. So, where are we now? What's happening?
Aegon. Action stations, everyone.
Action stations?
Oh, he's still in the Starfighter.
Oh, well, never mind.
Him.
What happened to Izzy? Wasn't Izzy out here doing repairs? I must have waffled over that.
Aegon!
Anyway, Sproggle is now in Roger's old starfighter. The mammoth machine is circling.
Featherless friend, let us...
Oh,
for the moment.
I was mentioning fingers and you just clicked them all there. Oh no, don't activate the self-destruct, Sproggle. Don't do that.
Sproggle, listen to me.
The self-destruct button is the one on the right-hand side.
I think we've had enough savouring, don't you?
Yes. Yes.
So was this Aegon's plan? Trap one person in the old starfighter and then blow them up?
Now disengage the electron power lock. That's the big white lever on your left.
I mean, it'll... Oh. Sproggle... Will he be able to choose the right one? Yes, he knows the difference between left and right, just about.
Big red button. Yes.
So yeah, this must have been Aegon's plan. Just trap one of them and then blow the ship up. But luckily, in inverted commas, Sproggle has managed to find the go very fast button to rocket away from the mammoth machine.
The little worm wants to play games, does he?
Oh.
Fine.
Oh, also animation on the beard there, on the sides of his mouth. Whoa. Yeah, so the chase is on. The mammoth machine is after the starfighter. Ooh, some nice... Oh, Sproggle's crying. Oh, dear. As I said, I know he's not my favourite character, but I do feel a bit sorry for him here.
Come in, Sproggle. It's no good. We've lost him.
Oh, well, never mind. We can always find another useless comic relief character somewhere else. No, he's still with us. Despite the best efforts of the mammoth machine to shoot him down, some lovely space CGI here. I mean, it is, very late 1990s, but it still looks gorgeous.
Look behind you, Master. What?
Oh, he's coming straight for us.
Sproggle feel ill.
Well, this hasn't turned into the story that I thought it would. Considering that this is... Oh, that's a fine... More lovely facial reaction animation there from Aegon, who's just shot the trunk off the mammoth machine. Yeah, considering this is Roger's old starfighter, I would have expected Roger to actually be a part of this story. But he's not really. It's another Sproggle does something silly and inadvertently saves the day by being slightly less incompetent than the villain.
But I'll be back. I'll be back! Shut up!
Oh, that's it. Strangle Trump, that's always a good thing to do.
Nice one, my son!
Hold it, everyone. How do we get Sproggle out of there?
Well, do we have to get Sproggle out of there? It seems like efficiency on the Paradox has been improved tenfold without Sproggle.
Not again. I wonder what this one does.
I do love, though, as he's... he's ejected. Yes, as he's rotating in the ship, his eyes are also rolling around. It's a small touch, but it's very sweet. So, Sproggle has ejected himself from the starfighter, and wouldn't you know it, he's hurtling straight towards the Paradox. And Captain Thrice just manages to turn the ship in time to get him through an airlock.
Sproggle, where did you learn to fly like that?
Oh, I wasn't flying.
This is falling with style.
Well,
I was panicking.
Naturally.
Ah, I see.
All right.
Sproggle must get back to work. Maps to read, routes to plot, directions.
Problems to cause.
Sproggle can't be good at everything.
But maybe one thing would be something.
I don't get it.
No.
Farewell, Firefly. I wonder if I'll ever see you again.
Oh, I wish I'd been in this story. Thus we could have established some kind of connection between me and my old spaceship. Well, never mind, that was The Last Starfighter. No, it wasn't, it was The Lost Starfighter. The Last Starfighter is a different film entirely, and that was... Yeah, I wouldn't put that in the top rank of Lavender Castle episodes that I've seen so far, but still quite enjoyable. But as I said there, the fact that it just becomes another Sproggle is in trouble and the rest of the crew aren't really involved, particularly Roger not being involved with the discovery of his own old ship. I was thinking this would be a Roger episode, but no, still somewhat enjoyable, but perhaps not everything it could have been.
Well, isn't it funny that we talk about Lavender Castle a couple of times in the podcast, and quite randomly, and it really is random, you get Lavender Castle. It's
That's
lovely.
right. So, James will be pleased about that. That's nice.
Yeah.
I do like a bit of Lavender Castle.
Such a sweet thing. And the music is so lovely. No,
the
Lavender Castle. Yeah.
I see.
The music is so lovely. Crispin's track for that. It's just got that kind of fantasy, cute, sparkly loveliness to it. I could listen to that all day.
Very nice. However, rather than listening to that all day, I'm going to read a couple more comments from our YouTube channel, because I don't know if you know at home, Podsterons, I suspect you do, but there's all sorts of Gerry Anderson goodness on the Gerry Anderson official YouTube channel, from Chris Dale's Primers to Tech Talk featuring John Coleshaw as various members of the Tracy family. The podcast is up there, of course. Sometimes, occasionally, the odd free episode, I've noticed.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Now, Mark Simpson Wedge posted, sorry I couldn't be at the concert or the live podcast, but I'm glad to hear that the concert is going to get a DVD release, something the BBC could have done with the Doctor Who proms, but they never did. Just another reason why Anderson shows are better.
Cool.
Wow. Yep.
Very brave.
I also look forward to hearing Thunderbird's Operation Asteroids and other upcoming audio projects. So far, my favourite is Captain Scarlet, the Silent Saboteur, Spectrum File 2. I found out that John Thaden also wrote 2 Secret Service books. Are there any plans to make audio versions of them? And if so, who would do the voice of Stanley Unwin?
Well, as you've already said, Richard, you have played a vicar on film before, so
I have.
be you.
Yeah.
But I would say those books are not... appropriate, I think, for a contemporary audience. And whereas we can make little edits and nips and tucks to Thunderbirds and Stingray, Secret Service is much harder. And also, it's just a lot less popular. So maybe in time there might be something Secret Servicey, but not for now. Not for now.
I mean, how is John Coleshaw's Stanley Unwin? That's all I'm saying.
I think I could give him a run for his money.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Now, Peacemaker Dan says, hi, Jamie and Richard. Please do tell me that the Gerry Anderson documentary A Life Uncharted will be available on DVD in the near future. I really would like to watch it and keep it to watch again. I don't have BritBox, and so I'll be unable to view it at the moment. I love the podcast. I always listen to them on YouTube on a Monday morning when I'm at my modelling table building model kits, which is my lifelong hobby. Keep up the great work.
Nice.
And all the very best from Dan.
Well, Dan, since you are so nicely, it will be on DVD and Blu-ray eventually. We can't give you a timeline for that yet, but yes, that's absolutely the plan, so worry not. And also, we're coming around the country for cinema dates.
Yes,
so
that's right.
Maybe see you there.
Yeah. And finally, for now, then, Steve Bushell says, what a fun event the live podcasts are. If we could bottle the fun in that room and distribute it around the world, then it would be a better place.
I completely agree.
Why don't we sell some bottled live podcast atmosphere on the Gerry Anderson store?
Sounds a little bit like snake oil.
I mean, it'd be a thing, wouldn't it?
It would be a thing.
It would be a thing. I bet people would buy it. I'd have a bottle.
Yeah, sounds a bit risky for COVID and stuff. So.
Sure, fair enough.
Yeah,
yes.
let's see. But nice idea.
Yeah. Do get in touch. Post on our YouTube channel or on Twitter, hashtag us Gerry Anderson Podcast. Post on our Facebook group or email us podcast@gerryanderson.com, and I shall read out your missives
Richard,
next time.
You've already forgotten that they're supposed to be SPAing. SPA, Podsterons.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that catchy thing the
thing which you said we should use and which you've already failed to use.
Yeah.
SPA. Okay. Anyway.
What did it stand for again?
Send Podsteron Amusement.
Podsteron Amusement, yeah. It's not working, is it?
Please SPA. Anyway. Right. On that note, I think we should probably put this to an end, don't you?
Oh, okay. Yes, fine.
Good. Well, thank you for allowing us to make your lug holes moist.
Would you stop? Just stop it.
That was the time of years, wasn't it?
Right. I know.
And that's Jay's fault. He said something along those lines, which was disturbing after the documentary screening. Anyway,
right.
thanks for bearing with us. We'll be back for Pod 205 next week with more of the usual gubbins.
He said it.
Yeah. So until then, have a lovely week. Goodbye, Podsterons.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Stage 1 complete.
Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
Now, Jamie, you haven't answered my question.
Which was?
What was your best bit of Gerry Anderson news?
Oh, I see. You see, because I was actually thinking of stuff that we would have said in the Gerry Anderson news.
Oh, okay. No, I'm thinking of something that excited you as a child.
Oh, I think, do you know what? It's probably not far off yours, actually, which is Space Precinct going into production, because I've been watching Space Police on the U-matic for so long.
Yes. Yeah.
To hear that it was going to become a real thing was really exciting. And then to hear that I'd be allowed to hang around the set and hang around the model shop with Richard Gregory and Christine Glanville, that probably was my best bit to date. Okay,
that's interesting. Can I ask then, so that, it's quite a big deal for your dad, wasn't it? Space Precinct going into production. It was a very big production. His sort of biggest success for many years in terms of, getting the thing on and the finances and the money that it was taken and the exposure. But how did he take it at home? I mean, were there bottles of bubbly opened? Was there an evening of celebration? Or do you remember anything like that?
No.
Not just for Space Precinct, but for any new project that came along.
New projects generally resulted in, let's all go out for a lovely meal, normally a Chinese, at the Chef Peking in Henley, which is now sadly long since gone.
Yeah.
But the main reaction was, and I shall paraphrase here, was, got to make the bloody thing now.
Right.
So you get to that you're crossing the line, crossing the threshold. Wow, that's brilliant. But no, that means a huge amount of work and a huge amount of stress.
That's right.
So there you go.
Yeah. But that's what I feel every week when we produce a podcast.
Which one?
Oh, well,
the let's go out for a meal or
the stress and the worry.
God, we've got to record it now.
That's right, exactly.
Yeah, I'm sort of with you there, to be honest. So yeah, fair enough. Well, on that note, it's been great spending time with you, and I really look forward to speaking to you next week.
Me too. I'm going to crack some champagne now it's over.
Rude.
Bye!
I'm on the whiskey. Bye.
You have been listening to the Gerry Anderson Podcast. Wasn't it fun?
You have been listening to an Anderson Entertainment production.